Hello and welcome to this tutorial about reporting about outputs, results and impacts. This tutorial is for main projects and small-scale projects that have outputs and results. And this presentation will guide you through the reporting package. The expectations for you as a project are that you report on outputs and results when you are achieving them. So you don't have to wait until your final report, but you can just report on them as you are achieving your outputs and results. But please refer to the program manual, in particular chapter 6.1 and 6.2, for how to count indicators and how to document the achievement of your outputs and results. In order to make documentation of outputs and results easier, we have developed a number of checklists and templates, which I will introduce to you now. We start with checklists. We have created for each output indicator and each result indicator a checklist. And we've also created another type of checklist, which is only relevant for your final report, which is a typology of project impacts. To explain that simply, it's basically a categorization of typical impacts that NPA projects have. You will find this as soon as your desk officer makes this available in your project report. And there will be an extra tab called Project Outcomes. And this is why you will be able to select the relevant checklist for your outputs and create them and fill them in. Why? The main reason is to simplify the documentation of outputs and results in line with the definition of the output or result indicator. And this will also support the program's reporting towards the European Commission because we are reporting on your indicator achievements. This will also help us to promote your project achievements better. And the typology of project impacts, that's only for final reports as mentioned, and that is created to capture different tangible and intangible project impacts. And we've been using that for 2 program periods already, so it's nice to be able to base this also on the familiar categories of impacts. Not everything could be solved with checklists and Jems, so we have a number of additional templates. Specifically for indicators that are counting enterprises and institutions, we have developed a number of spreadsheets. For example, for the indicator enterprises with non-financial support or enterprises cooperating with research institutions or public institutions supported to develop digital services. And another template we have is the end user testimonial template. And this is a template relevant for project results. You can find these templates in the program manual in the download center. There's a specific section for reporting templates and documenting outputs and results and impacts. And why do we have these spreadsheets and the testimonial? For the spreadsheets, it's mainly because as a program, we need to be able to aggregate all the enterprises that the different projects are supporting, and we need to be able to take out any duplicates. And as for the testimonial, we would like to capture and also promote end user experiences. Let's have a look at how this all works in Jems. We are now in Jems in our test system, and we are in the project CoPower. Thank you, CoPower. And we are in their 4th project report. And we will start with reporting on outputs. So in order to report on outputs, we need to go to the work plan progress. And this is where you will find outputs typically at the end of a work package. So let's go to work package 2, and we scroll down to the end of the work package. And here we have an output 2.1, distributed energy resource pilot actions. And I would like to report on this output. And here we can see this output is counted with the indicator pilot actions developed jointly and implemented in projects. And the project set a target value at the start of the project of 5 pilot actions to be delivered in period 4. That's really nice because this is project report 4, and we're going to report on all 5 pilot actions. And we will also say that we have made progress in this period, and we're going to describe that in this box. And we say that we finalized all the pilot actions, and in the attached report, you can see an overview of the main findings. And then we're going to attach all the supporting documentation for this output as a zip folder, because we can only upload 1 file. Let's see, and then we save the changes. So that's one part of output reporting. It's in the work packages, in the work plan progress, and we indicate the relevant value we describe the process, and we upload supporting documentation. But that doesn't mean that we are done, because we also have to go to project outcomes. And there we scroll to the lower part of the page, where we can see a section on checklists for documenting output, results, and impacts. And here we select the relevant checklist. So we had pilot actions. So this is the checklist I need to create here. And then I click on Start New Checklist. And then I'm in the checklist. And here we can see pilot actions developed jointly and implemented in the project. That's correct. And here you'll find some guidance as to how to fill in the checklist. But you start by filling in the name of the output. And that was output 2.1. And it was distributed energy resource pilot actions, if I remember it correctly. And we are reporting on 5 pilot actions in this checklist. And then you're asked to confirm that your pilot actions meet the indicator definition, and you say yes. Then we are asked to give a short and clear description of the pilot actions, and it's only 2 to 3 paragraphs. And we would like you to do this in a format of a pitch, so that you can explain towards non-specialists outside the project what was this about, what was being tested, the methodology, the main conclusions, and what solutions are coming out of this. We would then also like you to describe how stakeholder needs were involved in the pilot actions, and if you have any relevant links, and if you uploaded any documentation. Yes, I did. It was a pilot report and some pictures, and then finally to confirm. And so for each output indicator, there will be a slightly different checklist, but with very similar questions. And when we are done with the checklist, we say finish checklist, which locks the checklists. And then we can find this at the end of the page. For a number of indicators, as mentioned, we also have some separate templates, and they can be found in the download center in the program manual. I will quickly show you that. We are in the download center. There is a section reporting templates and guidance. And here we can find output and results documentation. And here we can find different things like spreadsheets. And I will give you an overview of what this spreadsheet looks like. So we are going to look at the spreadsheet for enterprises with non-financial support or new enterprises supported, which is the same spreadsheet, where you can list all the enterprises that your project has supported, if that's the indicator that you have. And you can insert enterprise name, unique identifier, enterprise size, and you can choose from a drop-down list. At the bottom of the page, it's explained what it means: micro, small, medium, and large. And then where the location is. If this is an enterprise with non-financial support or a new enterprise supported, you will describe the nature of the support and the support start and end date. We go back to Jems to have a look at result reporting, which is quite similar to output reporting. So outputs are in the work plan, but project results are on the tab Project Results and Horizontal Principles. Here we have result 1. Let's have a look. And this is the result indicator solutions taken up or upskilled by organizations. And the target value for this project is 7 solutions taken up or upskilled by period 6. But let's say I want to already report the 7 solutions now because they are already early. And here I describe the progress made in this period, and I upload the relevant documentation. And then we save the changes. But just like with the outputs, I need to also fill in a checklist. So I go again to my project outcomes tab and I scroll down again. And then I choose the results indicator solutions taken up or upskilled by organizations. And then I start that checklist. And it has a very similar structure, guidance at the top explaining what to do. And then you're asked to name the result. It's result 1. And we're reporting on 7 solutions this period. And again, you're asked to confirm that it meets the indicator definition. Yes. Then again, you're asked for a short description in the format of a pitch. So which solutions were taken up, what organizations have adopted them, and what is the expected impact. If you have any relevant links, you can insert them here. Here you're being asked, did you upload an end user testimonial from an adopting organization. And you're also welcome to list other supporting documentation. And the reason it's asking for an end user testimonial is that we are asking this for each result. So we go back to our download center, and here we find the end user testimonial template. And it looks like this. And we would like, in this case, from an adopting organization that has adopted one of your 7 solutions, please ask someone in that organization to fill in a testimonial. So we ask who they are, where they're located, which project they're connected to, co-power in this case, how they are connected to the project. Sometimes these organizations are associated partners. Sometimes they are outside the partnership. Please describe that. And then the testimonial. So the end user should provide a brief statement, for example, describing their experience with the project or explaining what positive change the project brought or how an issue was solved, in their own words, of course. Then, if relevant, they can provide links. And it's also very nice if they agree to provide a portrait picture of themselves and up to 3 photos relevant to the testimonial. And finally, they should give a date when they completed this and tick that they agree that the information is being used by the program. And this template should be included in the zip file that you have uploaded for your project result. So that is project result reporting. So let's say that I have finished this checklist. And then we can see both the output and the result checklist at the bottom of the page. And finally, as I mentioned, for final reporting, there are some specific checklists. And another thing that's part of final reporting is the rest of this page, so to speak, the project outcomes page. So at the top here, we have the project story. So this is only for final reports. And it should also be noted that this information will be published. So it should be written in a careful way. But basically here, we're asking you to describe the project's final achievements in a project story format. And it should be interesting and understandable for non-specialists. And here we have a number of guiding questions for your project story. So describing the positive change, describing what has been done to create this change, who is going to use the solutions that you developed, who is benefiting from the solutions at the end, and the level of positive change and the time frame. So this is for you to work on, and I'm sure we will develop some further guidance to make an appealing story here. And it's optional, but it's encouraged to attach a few pictures relevant for your project story, and you can upload those in the project report annexes. Another section that you can find here is the project's relevant mentions and prizes. Let's say your project won a Regis Stars Award, or you are on the front page of the London Times. That's a very relevant thing for us to know about. And please mention that here in your report. So you can add a mention here and name the prize or the mention, and this information will also be published. So you should be aware of that. And then you save the changes. That's right, Regis Stars Award. And finally, we come back to our checklist section. And here for the final report, there is this typology of project impacts checklist that I mentioned before. And this is based on a methodology developed 2 program periods ago, where we analyzed typical NPA project impacts. So we have listed a number of tangible impacts and a number of intangible impacts. And if you have any of these impacts in your project, then you should fill it in, and only those impacts with a concrete example will be considered. At the end of the checklist, there's also a question about your geographical impact, the widest reach that you've had as a project, and also to what extent your project outputs are transferable to other regions. And when you're finished with this checklist, you can finish checklist once again. And that concludes the mandatory elements for your final report. So that was an overview of how the reporting works in Jems. Hopefully this gives a good overview of the different elements and what to submit where. You can find further guidance in the program manual, in the Jems user manual. And as already indicated, you can find templates and guidance in the download center. There's always the Jems help desk, as well as Basecamp for lead partners. I would like to thank you very much for your attention and see you in the next tutorial. Goodbye.